And we're on the air with Noir106, week 9.
Bond,
9 long
Groom,
weeks.
Black.
Black is back.
Black is
I
back.
am
Black,
back.
where have you been, Black?
Um, that's confidential. I needed to get away and take a break from the internet and the matters at hand for a little while. But I'm back and I feel ready to be at it again.
Well, okay. We may have some additional questions for you a little bit later tonight, but
Is
all
your
right, well,
favorite song AC/DC's Back in the Black?
No. People have been asking me that since middle school. Please stop.
Oh, I'm
she's
sorry.
never heard that before, Groom.
Back
all
in
right.
the Black. Zach.
Let's dig
Welcome
right
back.
into our assignments, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of these other strange things that have been going on this week. Does that sound good? Bond, Groom, Black, yes? Good.
Very good.
Groom,
Yes.
why don't you kick us off with what we're going to be doing this week? Generally, what are we doing this week in week 9 of Noir
This
106?
We will be continuing to listen to radio all week on, actually, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll be doing the second part of the radio show listen-alongs. Again, you will be required to listen to at least one other show beyond your own, tweet along with that show, and to write a blog post about it. We, again, like I said, will have shows Monday from 9 to 10, Tuesday from 9 to 10, Wednesday from 9 to 10, and Thursday from 9 to 10. But this week will not actually focus on radio alone. We're actually shifting our focus to video. So we'll talk about that in a second, but let me just give you the specifics. You must listen along to someone else's radio show, comment on Twitter, and write a review blog post. Be present and active on Twitter for at least one of the shows, and use the Noir106 hashtag. Also, you're going to reflect on one of the shows, like I said, and tag that radio listen. This will all be in the post, but just that's a heads up. The other thing is, please have someone in your group on Twitter to feed back to us. This was very helpful for particular radio groups where you had questions or we were having fun. The radio discussions have been amazing. The other thing is maybe someone from your group could be on air a little bit early or later after the show, and we could pull them on Skype. So if someone in your group is willing to join us on Skype, send us your Skype handle, and we'll be sure to bring you on. That's been fun, those Skype discussions. So definitely do that. The other thing is we want a final reflection post about your radio show. So this is going to be something that's due this week. This is focusing in particular on comments, criticism, what would you do differently if you had a chance, what did you enjoy about the project, what was hard about the project, etc. This will all be in the blog post, but this is actually something we really want you to think about. A lot of people did a lot of amazing work with the radio. I think on week 1 of listening, we all see that. Use this as a chance to ask yourself what you would do differently, what you learned, what you didn't. And this might be something that groups decide over the next 5 or 6 weeks to revisit. So take it seriously, because I think this might be fodder for another project. Tag this post, Final Radio. Now we're going to move over to talking about the video. Do you guys want me to still go on?
Yeah, why don't you cover the reading a movie
Absolutely.
assignment?
I will. Okay, so like I said, while we're still listening to radio shows because there were so many awesome radio shows, we actually are moving on in terms of what media we will be covering. So this week, we kind of break video up into 2 weeks. The first week, we focus on the idea of reading movies, right? Kind of like we focused in week 4 on listening to audio. We really want to focus you on thinking about what makes a film beyond saying I liked it or I didn't like it, it sucked, it was great. What are some of the cinematic elements that make film narrative happen, that actually make films, right? There's a completely different notion of grammar, vernacular discussion in films, and we want you to think about this. And we want you to think about it very specifically. So for this week, you're expected to look for details in movies, many of which are found in Roger Ebert's How to Read a Movie. This is linked. This is required reading for the week. In addition, we want you to get deeper into your appreciation of cinema And that way we're asking you to watch at least 3 videos about filmmaking. There are several. There's some about Kubrick and his one-point perspective, others about Tarantino, particular tips about editing, examples of cutting, 20 cinematic techniques. There's about 10 of them looking at Hitchcock. You're going to be asked to watch and reflect on 3 of them. You can watch all of them, but you have to watch and reflect on at least 3. Finally, you're going to apply your newfound knowledge
Groom, Bond is covering that.
Damn it. You always cut me off. I'm on a roll.
Sorry. All right, Bond. You want to talk a little bit about applying their knowledge and, let me see.
Yeah, I'll do
The
it.
video essay, yes.
Yeah, as Groom said, we're going to apply the knowledge. So thinking of all that stuff you found out from reading Ebert and watching those examples, we're going to look at some classic noir films and examine them through that lens of stuff we learned. So we've got a list of several here. Kiss Me Deadly, and we've got a link to that. Mildred Pierce, we listened to that on the radio, so you can watch the movie. The Killers is another one. We're going to find a URL for that. Notorious, we listened to that on the radio, Lissalon. If you listen to that, it'd be a good idea to watch the video. We have a YouTube link for that. The Postman Always Rings Twice, or Out of the Past. And we have links to all those classic noir films. Pick one of those to watch, and then you're going to make a video essay analyzing at least one scene from one of the films that you chose, using that critical lens of the readings and resources that you reviewed this week. Choose at least one scene. It could be more, but from one movie. Use the information you found out from Ebert and the other films in your analysis. Edit a video together using those scenes and talking about them, voicing over it. We have a whole page of advice and information on how to do this assignment. They're going to see a link to that. And when you're done, you're going to blog about this, link to the video you made, or embed it in your post, and tag it video essay.
To be clear, Bond, they will not be linking to their video. They will be embedding it.
Yes, embedding it.
Linking is not an option. We are in week 9. One thing that might be worth mentioning is this assignment is based on an assignment that's in the assignment bank, the video essay assignment. There are some great examples there if people want to go and get an idea of what this is like. We've done a slight variation here. We're only requiring you to analyze a single scene, whereas usually the video essay assignment is a more comprehensive, longer piece looking at an entire film. You don't have to do that this week. If you want to, if you feel inspired, you may, but that's not a requirement. So if you look at the video essay assignment and you get confused because it seems to be different from what we're asking, that's why. All right. Moving right along. That is not where you're ending. Because this is video and it's great to learn about the making of film, watch some wonderful films, reflect upon those films, but to really dig into this genre, you have to start creating yourself. And so you are going to be doing some video work this week. Now, this week is a little bit different in terms of how we're tackling the genre work. You have choices. Your first choice, probably the simpler, more straightforward choice in some ways, is to do at least 8 stars of video assignments this week. So from the assignment bank, and at least 4 of those have to involve your character and at least one other character from the class in some way. So we're still working on inter-character narrative, building those narratives, making them more complex, more interesting, more compelling, and using video now as the way to explore those. So that's the way you can go. If you would like, you may do choice 1. If you choose this choice, next week you will get more stars of video, probably more than 8 stars, just so you know. We haven't decided on the star total for next week, but be prepared. You're going to be doing a bunch this week and even more next week of video assignments. Choice 2, however, we threw in here because we really felt like many of you enjoyed and excelled at the group work involved in doing a radio show. So this is something we've never done before in DS106. We're going to take the same model that we've used for radio show and we're going to apply it to the video genre. I think this is a really fun assignment, and I hope people take us up on it because I can't wait to see what people might do if they take this route. If you do, what you're going to be doing is organizing, similarly to with radio, into small groups of 3 to 6 characters, all right, the characters that you're playing in Noir106. They can be the same as your radio group, but they don't have to be. So if you really loved the people you worked with and you want to keep telling stories with those characters and those people, go for it. If you're ready to switch things up, try something new, you can do that too. Over the next 2 weeks, you'll be asked to produce a 15 to 30-minute video story, depending, again, on the number of members of your group. So much like with the radio, you'll be able to choose the format, choose the story, but you have to involve your characters in some way. And this will be divided like this. This week, week 1, you'll organize as quickly as possible, decide on your approach for your video essay, what format you're going to use, what story you're going to tell. You can, like with the radio show, you might want to look at the video assignments in the assignment bank for inspiration, to get some ideas of how you might approach this, but you don't have to. In addition, you're going to spend this week planning. So what does planning mean? Deciding on that format, deciding on the story, writing a script, because you're probably going to have to script this much like your radio shows, planning a shooting schedule and locations for where you're going to film. And in addition to that planning, everybody in the group must produce a short 30 to 60-second trailer for the video episode that you're going to make together. So that's week 1, and you're going to share that progress throughout the week in a series of blog posts tagged Video Show Plan. Next week, week 2, you'll actually make your video episode. So you'll get together in your group, produce it, edit it, and you'll write up your progress for that as well throughout the week in a second series of Video Show Plan posts. And in both cases, in your weekly post, you'll share whatever your final product is. This week, the trailer, next week, the final episode, all right? So the idea here is to take the same basic roadmap of what we did with radio and apply it to video. And like I said, while in some ways it seems like a kind of a more kind of out there option than the first option, which is a little more straightforward, like what we've done with other genres, I think we could get some amazing work out of this. What do you guys think? Bond, Groob?
Good plan. Yeah. 2 things I wanted to bring up. I don't think we mentioned daily creates.
Yes.
We're doing 2 of them this week. Just to keep in that creative habit. And the other thing I wanted to mention is some things you're going to have to do for this course, which it's not directly related this week, but you will have to submit 2 assignments to the assignment bank. So this is really a good week to think about that. If you don't see an assignment you like and maybe you have a creative idea and you want to make something happen in there, submit it to the assignment bank. Make it an assignment. Do what you want to do there. If one of the assignments you see doesn't really fit the way you want it to go, maybe you can put a twist on it and make it into a new assignment. But you have to submit 2 assignments to the assignment bank over the course of this semester. I think a couple of people have done that already, but everyone has to do it, so this is a good time to think about that. You also have to create 2 tutorials during this course of this semester, so that's another thing we need to think about. If there's an assignment that you did that you really struggled with, that you had to like work through something, that would be a great topic for a tutorial. Just like talk about how you did it, how you worked your way through it. You have to do that for 2 assignments. If you make up an assignment, maybe that's a good subject for a tutorial as well.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Bond. Those two things, the assignment idea and the tutorial, those were part of the original syllabus. We've mentioned them at least once before, but we're not going to be bringing those up every week. It is your responsibility to make sure you get those done this semester by the end of the semester, so don't leave them till the last minute because there will be other stuff going on. Try and pick at them, throughout the next couple of weeks. Groom, what were you going to say?
No, you're right. 2 assignments, 2 tutorials, and the other thing I'll throw in there is 2 daily creates. And we try and circle your daily creates in during the semester. So if you have an idea, a very quick idea for a daily create, I believe Mariana Funes will get that out there so other people can do your assignment.
Yeah.
So that's thrown out there. But back to your point that you were making, Martha, that I thought was, or Bertus, that I thought was really good, was we never actually did anything like what you're proposing with video during DS106. And I'm very excited because of just how much energy and how much these groups gelled during the radio time that we're going to see some of that in the video. It's an experiment. We understand it's a lot of work. We understand not everyone's going to do it. That's why we gave you the forking pass of options. But we're really excited to see if certain groups take it up and push their characters to the next level. I am particularly excited.
I think it's also worth mentioning that we have plans in the coming weeks for your characters. You are only going to be doing more and more with these characters. So another thing to keep in mind as you're working on your assignments this week, particularly if you take the episode approach, the option 2, is that by diving more deeply into this characters, that's going to set you up to be more successful, I think, as the semester progresses and as we ask you to do more and more with those characters.
Agreed. But if you want to be a little hermit,
yeah, if you don't like
insular,
people, yeah. If you don't like challenges,
exactly.
Yeah, you're not up to
you just want to know,
just phone it in.
Make the donuts.
Yeah. I don't know why you're laughing.
Challenges, you're going to get them anyway.
All right, I think that's it for our assignments for this week. We all had some things that we wanted to bring to the table because I will say that the last couple of weeks have been there's been a lot going on in Noir106 among all of us, among the characters and the radio shows. Who wants to kick this off?
Well, this might get back to what. Yeah, I'll start.
Go
this
ahead,
might
Greg.
get back to Maggie's return, and welcome back, Maggie. I think it was you, at least it was in your cat or in your account. You had this crazy Noir Cat video, and Noir Cat kind of constantly comes back, or at least I thought it was Noir Cat, where you had these quotes that actually one of the students, Liza, went through and found every example of a quote from that video with the cat and that crazy voice. And if you go to Liza's post, and I'm going to go there right now, and hopefully I'll share it and other people will see it, this is like a anthology of, awesome films for noir. And so I was wondering, were you just giving people, something to go out and watch? Because Liza did some amazing sleuth work. She found that you quoted The Dark Corner, Brute Force, Strangers on a Train, Touch of Evil, The Asphalt Jungle, The Gun for Hire, Blue Dahlia, Suspicion, Gun Crazy, Mildred Pierce Twice, Pick Up on South Street, Kiss Me Deadly, The Long Goodbye, The Big Sleep, Detour, The Book, The Maltese Falcon, Murder My Sweet, The Big Steal, and Strangers on a Train. Again, I think, because that's the second time I saw it. Yeah. So, do you have anything to say? And is Liza right? And what is it all about?
I can't speak to those videos that were posted on my account. I was completely off the internet during those 2 weeks. I believe I was hacked. I don't know what it was. Things have gotten kind of strange since I had to interact with Jack on behalf of El Hoda.
Let me ask you this. Are the citations that Liza found correct?
I would assume so that they check out, but I had no hand in that creation.
You had nothing to do with that?
No.
Do you know the cat in the video?
No, and it didn't look like it was one cat. It looked like it was a lot of different cats.
Could the cat have been wearing a disguise?
Maybe. I don't know. That seems very difficult to pull off.
Anything's possible with video editing.
Have you ever dressed up as a cat?
No.
Okay, Groom, now I think you're just getting crazy. I mean, come on. Okay, Black's account was hacked. She's given us an explanation. I don't think we need to, interrogate her further or persecute her. We're gonna believe that. Why would she lie to us? Is there any reason for Black to lie to us about this?
But I think Liza's onto something, and I think this is worth exploring.
I absolutely agree. Who hacked Black's account? Why there were videos of strange cats and quotes from noir films, I think that is a mystery. Hopefully Liza, maybe others, will take that up and try to solve it. But I think it's clear Black has no answers for us.
Is that cat Noir Cat?
I don't know. I mean, I have no hand that there are lots of cats in this world.
But there's only, do we agree there's only one Noir Cat?
Yes.
Well,
But I mean, cats are just a popular internet staple, and we may have Noir Cat, but I mean, whoever put this up here may not have access to Noir Cat.
so they might be using a stand-in cat for Noir Cat.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It could be a
point.
cat suit.
Could be what?
A cat suit.
A cat suit. It could be a cat suit, or cats wearing other cat disguises. Anything's possible. All right, Groom. Is there anything else?
No,
You're
that was
done?
my
All right.
that was my big discovery.
All right, Black. What about you? You had some things you wanted to bring to the table as well.
I mean, I don't know if this is just a crisis of being in the young adulthood and watching people establish their lives, but there seems to be a lot of people getting married in the Noir106 universe. I mean, El Hoda, I didn't realize that he was the marrying type when he stayed with me, but I see that he got married to Lena Myers, and he made her a Valentine's Day card, and then Blair Morgan's been posting about her son getting married, and then of course in the radio shows we've been introduced to Sebastian Crane, and he went on a date with Sasha Kellogg, so who knows if there's wedding bells in the future for them. But it seems kind of strange because Noir isn't really a place where you can trust people, and love and marriage doesn't normally work out. So
Well, we're only in week 9.
yes, so be wary.
I think that's a good point. There are no happy endings in Noir, and I'm frankly, I'm worried for Hoda and Lena, given the world that they're in right now, and what Noir asks of you. I also found it very strange. Lena, from what I take it, is a veterinary student. I never thought El Hoda, a nightclub owner, would. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting match. The veterinary student and the nightclub owner, right?
I agree. You know, but maybe they're refuting the existential fatalism of Noir. And
Can you
this
do
could
that?
be.
I mean, El Hoda in
It's
some
just their
ways is a
story.
family man. He has the ties to his grandparents, and he does love his parents dearly, from what I understand about him. So maybe, despite his, presence and sort of the air he gives off as just being all there for a good time, maybe he really does want to establish a family. And maybe this whole ordeal that was happening, with the Russians surrounding his nightclub and his grandmother, maybe that's made him rethink how he lives his life. But who knows?
That's an interesting idea. Right. I mean, certainly these things can put things in perspective, right?
Absolutely.
Perhaps the Russian ordeal has created a change in El Hoda. Maybe he's settling down and becoming a family man. I still find it hard within the genre of noir to understand how that exactly is going to play out. But I guess that's what the next couple of weeks are about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard the Russians are very romantic.
What was that?
I heard the Russians are very romantic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe you misremembered.
Was it romantic when you were being held by them?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, Bond. What have you got for us today, Bond?
Well, speaking of Russians, I was interested in the issues that were brought up in the apparent abduction of Layla Arkwood, and I believe Damon was the other guy. There was a mention of Russian involvement there, and it was sort of oblique, so I don't really know where we were going with that, but is she referring to the same Russians that apparently kidnapped Groom? I don't know, the same Russians that might be after me. These are questions that are, in my mind. But also, I notice, if I can start a screen share here, I see that Layla Arkwood appears to have 2 Russian bodyguards. So there seems to be some kind of connection there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that.
I mean,
has anyone looked up the Arkwood Syndicate?
It's a new one to me, but this.
It isn't. It doesn't ring any bells from any previous cases that you, Groom, and El Hoda have worked on.
No.
No. Can you put that screen share back up for just one moment, Bond? I just wanted to see Mikhail and Nikolai Asimov. Of course, we can't assume that's Russian, right?
Right.
But certainly, it certainly seems to have a Russian-ish.
I thought that was
sound
a
to
science fiction last name.
it. Asimov, yes. It often is
Yeah.
confused
The genre.
as a science fiction surname.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Bond. Well, the Russian connection
Now-
is very interesting.
But then there was another connection in there as well, because Layla was actually apparently abducted on behalf of the U.S. government. We saw the president involved in that conversation there. And that raises another issue, because, Bertus, you were in Washington, the Department of Authentication. Is there a connection there? What was going on there? We don't really know about that. We haven't heard.
As many know, I was on assignment last weekend. There were some photos that from that assignment. I cannot speak specifically to what the assignment was about. I was shocked by the POTUS reference in that show. I can tell you that my assignment did not involve the kidnapping of Layla and Damon.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I don't think there's anything more I need to say.
Mm. We have a lot of questions around these things, and I think we could investigate further.
It's interesting too because. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just interesting too because it pushes back to the Maggie Black video where I don't know if you know Pickup on South Street. The Pickup on South Street is all about the 1950s Russians and the communist influences, and I think that's obviously linked back to Washington. It's linked back to the state of the nation, and I don't think all of these things are just a coincidence, so to speak.
Sometimes things are just a coincidence. I think we should turn our attention to what I believe is the proverbial noir cat in the middle of the room that everybody is ignoring, which is that all day yesterday, Groom, all over the internet and Twitter, there were reports of you having been kidnapped. Now let me back up. This actually started on Friday with a number of leaked notes demanding some sort of ransom for your release. Yesterday, an erstwhile character in Noir106, the elusive and mysterious Talkie Tina, suggested on Twitter, on her blog and on Twitter, that you had been kidnapped and that you were being held for ransom until enough people created, I believe the initial ransom was for 10 animated GIFs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to do a little screen sharing here myself. So this is the initial post from Talkie Tina's blog with this animated GIF, pixelated, unpixelated Jim Groom, demanding at least 10 animated GIFs by midnight if anybody wanted to see you again. At that point, a number of people began to submit animated GIFs.
Funny stuff.
Tina was providing badges for them as they were accepted, with sort of an air of hilarity around the whole thing while you were presumably being held hostage. Later, she posted an animated GIF or video or something of what she claimed was the hut that you were being held in. Throughout all of this, I heard nothing from you about whether or not this was you were in legitimate danger. I think by the end, there were only, she upped the ante up to 12 animated GIFs late in the day, and in the end, I think only 9 accepted GIFs were submitted, showing that perhaps the genre of Jim Groom art is waning. Maybe people are getting a little bit tired of producing Jim Groom art. Not that I, of course, would share those feelings, but it does seem like you didn't meet the ransom requirement. On the other hand, you are here today. So, you know, Groom, do you have anything to say about this entire episode over the last 48 hours? I mean, you've been completely silent on this.
I want to thank all the people who made animated GIFs to help me get out of the hostage trap.
Were you being held hostage?
We brokered a deal later in the evening, early mornings.
Can you tell us about the deal? Can you tell us why you were kidnapped?
That was part of the brokering. The negotiation was not to talk too much about it. I mean, Talkie Tina did take care of me. I avoided all staircases. But the bigger question, I think, there is that despite your kind of, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Bertus, but I felt like there was a little bit of, I don't want to say hostility because that's too strong, but maybe a little bit of like ego or pride kind of pecking at you, because I had no idea that anyone would take me hostage and then write a ransom note. But the Jim Groom art, I thought, you know, came out of a special space of, you know, support and community, which DS106 is known for. But I felt like some people were kind of butting up against that. We're kind of tired of the community and the support and wanted to go back to, like, you know, just make the donuts, get the work done. But I think this was actually an outpouring of support for the spirit of creativity that saves people's lives. And I want to just take a moment in this video to thank people for spending their time making art of a worthy subject.
I think it's very gracious of you to accept people's efforts on your own behalf. I don't know where you're getting hostility from me. I mean, I tweeted on Friday night, is there anything better than Groom art? Seriously, who could ever get sick of this? Please continue to worship at Jim Groom with your art. I mean, what?
I don't know. I mean,
what's the problem, Groom? Was I not worshipful enough?
You were a little sarcastic. I mean, if I were to read that, I mean, and we're asking people to read closely, right? I think that was sarcastic, and I think, you know, given that you're leading the agency, and I mean, you're doing a fine job. I just felt like, you know, maybe you could put a GIF out there. Maybe you could have been the 10th that saved me, so I didn't have to negotiate.
All day yesterday in the opening of the Digital Auditorium in the Information and Technology Convergence Center at the University of Mary Washington. There was no time for making art of the Jim Groom kind or any other kind, unfortunately, yesterday. If you follow my Twitter trail, you will know exactly what I was doing yesterday as I tweeted throughout the day the events of that event. I
was in the hostage hut. How could I follow Twitter? And
well, you may not know this, but you can go back and look at people's Twitter timelines after the fact. The only thing I will also say on this, and then I'm done, is that I would recommend everybody go back and closely, just as Groom suggested, closely read all those animated GIFs. That's all I'm saying.
You should. There is one, though, if you mind the indulgence. There is one I do want to point out, because I do think it may be, I mean, because Jim Groom art, you know, this agency has a long history even before noir. And Jim Groom art is, you know, how do we say, it's a genre.
It is,
and
absolutely.
It really did come to the fore with Noise Professor, and I think this is maybe one of the best examples of Jim Groom art I've seen in a very long time.
I can't.
So I think we're upping the game here, Bertus, and we're upping the game to save lives and to inspire creativity. And that was a good example.
Your willingness to put yourself on a pedestal for people to worship so that we can create better art for DS106. I really thank you, Jim. I think that is
It's not a pedestal. See, this is your misreading. It's not a pedestal. I think
it's very generous of you. I'm telling you. I think you're very, very generous. That's what I'm saying. And I'm glad that Talkie Tina, I'm glad you've been released. I'm delighted that you're here tonight, that you got out of the hut. How close did it come? Let me ask you that. The ice looked like it was melting. The balloons were limp. Did the floor get wet? Was there water coming into the hut before you were finally released?
I have a little bit of a cold and frostbite.
Are your socks wet?
Oh, I can't use my feet right now.
Oh. because of the frostbite.
Mm-hmm.
A DS106.
But that's all right. I know you
yes.
had to open a conversion center, but that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do what we need to do. That's right.
I know. I'm a big fan. I always have been.
And right back at you.
At you.
Closely read those gifts, everybody. All right. I think that will probably conclude tonight's video. We've covered a lot of ground here. I think we've asked some important questions. Hopefully everybody has a clear sense of what's going on for the next week. Bond?
Yep.
Black?
We've
Everyone?
got a plan. We've got a lot of directions we could go in.
Yeah. Right.
I just wanted to put up a reminder that with video, the DKC offers tutorials in iMovie and advanced editing, and also the front desk. You can borrow cameras and tripods and whatnot, which might be helpful for your
That is right.
purposes.
And Black is referencing the front desk of the ITCC, or Information Technology and Technology Convergence Center. She just calls it the front desk because Black essentially lives in that building. So to her, that is the entire universe. But yes, those resources are available. And actually, I'm going to do one more shameless plug for everybody in DS106. I know I've emailed my students about this. I don't know if you guys have. But on March 27th, we have a deadline coming up for a new contest that the Digital Knowledge Center is sponsoring this year, a digital project contest, one of the categories of which is Best Personal Domain. Many of our students have been doing an excellent job, don't you think, Groom, Bond, in building out their digital identity at their domain. And I would encourage all of them to consider entering that contest. There is a cash prize for the winner. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get.
I agree entirely. I think it's a great idea. You already did the work. Frame it as a portfolio and submit it.
Absolutely.
Cash money.
dkc.umw.edu is the URL for the Digital Knowledge Center, where you can go to make appointments and where you can enter that contest.
And if you have specific questions for any of us, please don't hesitate. It's coming up. Email us.
Absolutely.
All right.
See, I can
Thank
agree
you.
with you on that.
It's wonderful when we agree.
We're all one big happy family.
Magical. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye-bye, guys. Good luck this week.
All right. DS106 for life.